Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Please remain standing for the prayer by my chaplain, Reverend George Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Council, and how excellent it is actually to see you in person, having struggled myself with Teams so many times. It is so good to see you, and standing I can check that no one's wearing their trackies or anything else for Teams. So it has been a privilege, Mr. Mayor, to be serving you this year, although it has been such a curtailed year in so many ways with all the fun aspects, and we do thank you for stepping in at short notice after the tragic death of Councillor Frank Russ. So with all that has gone in the year past and looking ahead to what we trust will be a future of opportunity, let us pray. Gracious Father, as we look back over this last year, we do so with a degree of lament and grief at all that has been taken away, including many lives that have been lost. So we continue to pray for those deeply affected, whether in terms of grief, isolation, separation, illness, and mental health. But as we look back, we also look back on a year of challenge and many rising to the challenge. We thank you for the way the Council has responded. Again, we thank you for our NHS. We thank you for the successful rollout of vaccines. We thank you for so many from the ordinary community around, as well as places like the Vine that have stepped up. Thank you for so many volunteers in the early lockdown, taking food and medication to people. Thank you for all those who have stepped up volunteering at vaccination centres and testing centres. Thank you for the persistence of the Council to get adequate testing. And as we pray about testing and the new sightings of the variant of COVID, we do pray for protection over this whole area. Father, looking back, we are aware of many other challenges through the year and continue to pray for clear representation across all the different people groups, good inclusion amongst our diversity. We thank you for our outgoing Mayor, Charles Chowdhury, and we pray your blessing on him and his family as he looks to continue to serve the community. I thank you for an opportunity yesterday in his last full day to gather with other members of the diverse community to pray for this town and borough. And as we look ahead, we do pray for Bruce as he becomes mayor, that you will bless and anoint him and Tracy. Pray for Bishop Malcolm taking over as chaplain to the mayor. And in this meeting, may there be a sense of joy in our gathering and wisdom in decisions today and in the months ahead. And we pray your blessing and protection over all who live in this borough, and thank you for all who serve us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Members, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rushmoor Borough Annual Meeting of the Council. I would especially like to extend a warm welcome to our new members of the Council. Following the recent borough elections, Jessica Oughton, Jim Belbase, Michael Hope, Sarah Spall, Nim Thapa, who unfortunately can't be with us this evening. And a special welcome, of course, as well to those of you watching our live webcast. Thank you for joining us. This annual meeting is a very different occasion compared to previous years due to the COVID restrictions. However, I am pleased that unlike last year, as the council are all able to be together this evening. Item 1, moving now on to the formal agenda. Item 1 is the election of the Mayor of Borough Rushmoor until the annual meeting of the council in 2022. Now I call Councillor Clifford, please.
Oh, this is great, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. It's really lovely to be out in person with you all. It is a great pleasure to move that Councillor Bruce Alfred Thomas, yes, that's Bruce Alfred Thomas, be elected Mayor of Rushmoor 2021 to 2022. Mr. Mayor, this is no ordinary mayor. No, and that's not because we've had to tailor his mayoral robe down by a foot. Not because of any perceived Napoleon complex in Rushmoor. We've got no over-aggression, no domineering behaviour, and no exaggerated stories here in Rushmoor. Especially from this mayor. And in fact, only last week I was talking with Bruce, and honestly and sincerely, he looks up to every one of you. And in fact, many of your children. And that's not all. Councillor Thomas looks down on no one. That is why, Mr. Mayor, I am confident that our meetings will be entering a new age of good humour and one with no one giving offence and no one taking offence. I'm delighted that Councillor Thomas, and I'm looking up above me, not to the heaven but the galleries, that Councillor Thomas will be ably supported by the incredible Tracy Thomas, wherever you are. I think you're up there. Yeah, there you are. Right, I see you. The first woman, those of you that know Tracy, the first woman that Bruce ever really saw eye to eye to, so Tracy tells me. Tracy did remind me that when she first heard Bruce laugh, she ran a mile. Well, Tracy, all of us here are very grateful that you ran back. We're glad you're back. And you are very much Bruce's bonus. And together, you're going to be a dream team and certainly will be Rushmoor's Brucey bonus. Now, in all seriousness and sincerity, and regardless of Councillor Thomas's stature, he is, in my eyes, a giant councillor. He served as an outstanding planning chairman and deputy mayor. Councillor Thomas has served the people of Aldershot and Rushmoor with great distinction and dedication. It's not always been easy, and despite the challenges to health and having to shield for a large part of the lockdown, Bruce and Tracy, and Bruce certainly, has never let us down. I'm confident Councillor Thomas will be not just an outstanding mayor, but one that will be loved and respected by all in this chamber. Those to whom he goes out as first citizen will also love and enjoy his company and his interest. He is a delightful, charming and lovely man. Tracy is warm, engaging, an approachable woman, and both have a lovely sense of humour and a great sense of duty. Together in this role, they will simply be amazing. I therefore move that Councillor Bruce Alfred Thomas be elected Mayor of Rushmoor 2021-2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clifford. I now call on Councillor Peter Carrar to second.
Mr. Mayor, can I first of all pay homage to your year as mayor of this borough, and also to the outgoing mayoress. Clearly, this has been the most challenging year for any mayor within the borough, and I think you've served, the two of you have served incredibly well. I'd also like to pay homage to the former deputy mayor elect, Councillor Craig Grattan. And one of the sort of sad things about our electoral system when people win and lose is that sometimes there's winners and losers. And I think Clive was a very nice man, and he would have made a great mayor. So in that respect, I feel obviously sad for him in that respect. Mr. Mayor, it's with great pleasure that I propose my fellow ward councillor abroad, Bruce Thomas, for the position of mayor of Rushmoor. Bruce was born and bred in Aldershot and grew up in Aldershot's West End. Bruce then went on to attend Manor School in Aldershot. He has lived at his current home in Manor Park Ward with Tracy, who I'm delighted is going to be being proposed as being deputy mayoress, and he's lived there for over 20 years, having previously lived in Church Hill, that's also within Manor Park Ward. Apart from 6 years in Germany with the British government, Bruce has lived in Aldershot all of his life. Bruce has one child, and his career consists of 22 years in the civil service with the Department of the Environment, 10 years in project management, and with post office counters. And then as landlord of the La Fontaine Public House in Windmill Road in Aldershot, that is also on the edge of Manor Park Ward's northern boundary. During his time in Aldershot, Bruce was interested in amateur dramatics, participating in a number of performances at the West End Centre. But I'm delighted to propose Bruce as mayor of Rushmoor, because I think that this is going to be his greatest performance of all. Bruce first stood to be a councillor in Heron Wood Ward in 2007, coming within around 50 votes of the incumbent councillor Don Kappelman, who was defending the seat for Labour. It took Bruce another 5 years to become a Conservative councillor, but that's predominantly because he wanted to serve as a councillor within Manor Park Ward, the ward where he lived, and he'd patiently waited until a vacancy within that ward became available. And his chance came in 2012, the combined all-out elections, when he took over from the retiring councillor George Paparesti. So on the campaign trail, Bruce is fun to campaign with. He's generally very well known within the ward, particularly with residents in the Waterloo Road area, where the La Fontaine Public House was situated. Bruce was successfully elected for a 2-year term and successfully defended the seat in May 2014 against strong challenges from UKIP and also from Labour's Dominic Swadling. Since then, Bruce has been successfully re-elected in May 2018, resisting again another strong challenge, this time from Gaynor Austin, who herself went on to fight another day, becoming elected as a councillor for Northtown Ward. For many years, Bruce was chairman of Development Management Committee, overseeing some of the major developments within our borough. He's also served as a member of the Aldershot Regeneration Task and Finish Group. As a fellow ward councillor, Bruce has always remained dedicated in the first instance to the residents of Manor Park that he represents. Mr. Mayor, I've served on 2 different local authorities. I was first of all elected in the Royal Borough of Kingston-upon-Thames in 1998, before being a councillor in Manor Park Ward in Rushmoor in 2003. What struck me about Rushmoor Borough Council is the degree of respect councillors between different political parties have for each other, compared to my experience serving on a London borough for 4 years. And I was struck how well councillors from all parties work together, and there's a general atmosphere of mutual respect. I believe that councillors should treat members of other political parties with the utmost respect, This does not mean that you have to agree with our politics, simply that you must never let disagreements over politics come in the way of respecting colleagues in other parties. Given my experience of being a member of two separate local authorities, Rushmoor is best placed to be a utopian model for local governments. Following on for this, I would describe Bruce as someone who is a popular member of this council and commands respect across the floor of the council chamber from members of all parties. In this case, I believe that provides Bruce with the essential qualities for serving as Mayor of Rushmoor, and Tracy is the Mayoress of Rushmoor. So I'm delighted to second this proposal, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any nominations? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against? Thank you very much. That's carried unanimously. Councillor Bruce Thomas is therefore elected Mayor of Borough to hold office until the annual meeting of the Council in 2022. The mayoral party will now leave the stage for a short time to enable the mayoral badge to be cleaned for COVID safety reasons. Please be. On behalf of the council, Bruce, congratulations on your elections as the mayor of the borough.
Good evening, members. Do you, Bruce Alfred Thomas, having been elected to the office of Mayor of the Borough of Rushmoor, declare that you take that office upon yourself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of your judgment and ability? And do you undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of Rushmoor Borough Council?
I do. Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillors, aldermen and ladies and gentlemen, it is with much pride that I stand here tonight as your new mayor and the first citizen of the Borough of Rushmoor. I would first like to thank my councillors, David Clifford and Peter Carrera, for proposing and seconding my nomination and for their kind words. Thanks also go to my fellow councillors for their continued support and trust in me. I am delighted to see my family and friends here this evening to share this special occasion with me. I could not have achieved this honour of becoming a mayor without the support of my wife Tracy, who will become my mayoress. We will be supporting each other on this new adventure in our memorial year. I'm also pleased to confirm that the Reverend Malcolm Cummings has agreed to be my chaplain, and I look forward to working with him at council meetings. The charities I'm supporting this year will be the Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice and the Vine Centre, and I'm very much looking forward to working with them both. Finally, I promise to do my very best in my new role as the first citizen of this great borough, of which I am very proud to be a member of. Thank you very much. We now move on to item 2, vote of thanks. Item 2 on the agenda is for the council to place on records its appreciation of the excellent service rendered by Councillor Charles Chowdhury as Mayor during the municipal year 2020-2021. I call upon Paul Taylor to propose.
Members, honorary aldermen, guest officers, colleagues and new mayor, especially. I'm honoured to be asked to lead the vote of thanks for the outgoing mayor, Charles Chowdhury. For Charles and for mayors up and down the country, this has not been an easy year. I guess that's an understatement. But again, like the Queen a few years back, this has been probably near to an annus horribilis. But I'm sure I know that Charles has made the most of the opportunities he has had. Me hear from Charles in a talk he's going to give. He has made the most of a very difficult situation. Obviously, the number of live events has been minimal, and he's not even needed to call on his deputy as much as he would in normal years, Bruce, that is, to stand in for him. Unfortunately, the usual run of town and local events, opening fetes, giving prizes, attending school nativities, welcoming and entertaining visiting dignitaries, organising fundraisers, etc., has just hardly been there at all. I guess that at least it has reduced the mayoral expenses for the year, petrol expenses at least, so that's looking on the bright side. Having been willing enough to step into the role for a year when he was to be deputy mayor, following the sad and sudden passing of dear Frank Rust, this seems little reward. Charles was previously mayor in the years 2001-2002 and was deputy mayor in 1992-3 and 2003-4. So this has been a huge, or a rather big letdown for him in a role to which I know he was greatly looking forward. Virtually the only need for his robes has been in chairing our council meetings, while we watch from the comfort of our own homes. And talking of that, our virtual meetings have been, one thing we will miss is being able to slip out for the odd cup of coffee without being known that we've vacated the room. It could be for longer than expected. And also, I'm sure we won't miss the haltering sort of speech that comes from various people due to breakdowns in the broadband, etc. So that will not be necessary anymore, we hope. So it is really good to be back together, and I'm sure Charles is pleased to see us all back together today. However, he did what he could from the comfort of his chair. He assures me it was not his rocking chair. I can only take his word for that, but I'm sure you're a long way from that, Charles, for a long time. He's also had the honour of being leader of Hampshire to keep him busy, so it's not all bad news for you, Charles, and I know you've been busy in many areas elsewhere. His commitment to Rushmoor in many roles over years, 29 years, I think, something like that, 29 years probably, I believe, Charles. And now especially to the job that he has just completed, has still seen him able to raise funds for his charities, albeit less than in a normal year. But there were some ongoing established means of raising money, and he has done everything in his power to actually raise what funds he can for his charities, who will now benefit from that. We also miss your lovely tea parties, raffles, cakes, all those kind of things as well, which I'm sure have been sadly missed by all of us, and which now I'm sure Bruce will enjoy in the coming year. So we look forward to those. All in all, Charles, it has been a very difficult year for you, and I and the members, while sharing the disappointments I'm sure you have had, can only thank you for the efforts which you've made during this year of representing the Queen on behalf of the Borough of Rushmoor. Thank you for what you've done, and I'm delighted to acknowledge the support also of your devoted family during this past year as well. So, Charles, thank you.
I now call upon Councillor Keith Dibble to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations on your appointment. Before I formally second the vote of thanks to the outgoing Mayor, I would like to thank the good people of Northtown who returned me to represent them on Rushmoor for the 11th time, with my highest ever vote when it's not a general election year. This despite our opponents throwing everything, the kitchen sink and a few other things at me. It also meant that my running mate, Sarah Spall, was also elected. Congratulations, Sarah. She will fill the vacancy left by, or following the very sad and unexpected death of our much-loved friend, colleague and comrade, Frank Rust, some 12 months ago. Tonight, I should be moving the vote of thanks to Councillor Rust and his second term of office as mayor. But sadly, that is not the case tonight. As a result of Frank's passing, there was a vacancy for the mayor. And cometh the hour, cometh the man. Charles called me a couple of occasions between Frank's very sad death and taking on the role of mayor. And he was concerned that would it be right for him to take on that role. And I know the leader, encouraged Charles to do that. And we're very pleased that he did. Charles not only stepped in, but he also stepped up to take on the role. And what a great job he has done, as Councillor Paul Taylor's outlined, in the unique position of being not only a substitute mayor, but also in the year of the COVID pandemic. The municipal year 2021 was exceptional, with lockdown, council elections, the offices being closed, events cancelled, and the majority of staff working from home. Yet Charles Chowdhury rose to the occasion and undertook his duties with conviction and good humour in a very difficult time. Charles, as Paul Taylor mentioned, also had the impossible task, I was going to say near impossible, but I think impossible task of chairing virtual council meetings. A 12-month ordeal of Teams meetings, members contributing not only on Teams, but on telephone and via the chat box. And somehow you were supposed to manage all three of those. Now, you always looked calm and in control. One day, I'm sure, we'll know the truth. And you had to put up with the likes of Diane Bedford saying, "Can you hear me, Charles?" Terry Bridgman going on, reversing the instruction of going not on mute, but turning up the background volume when he should be on mute. Councillor Roberts telling us this was the 12th Teams meeting of top-tier meetings he's had that day. And Peter Cullum wanting to speak on everything. But as I say, while this chaos was taking place, you looked in control. And like a referee in a football match or an umpire in cricket, as long as you look in control, perception is everything. We know that 2021 was a very difficult year, and we hope that all future mayors never have to go through that experience. But our mayor, Charles Chowdhury, rose to the challenge, and it gives me great pleasure tonight to formally second the vote of thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Dibble. All those in favour, please show. That's carried unanimously. Charles, congratulations on your year as mayor. I know it's not been the year you had hoped for because of the COVID restrictions. We have an illuminated scroll for you, which is on display and for collection after the meeting. The scroll contains the resolution of the council. You have a past master's badge, which you may put on, and there is a past master's mayoress's badge for Gull. I now call upon Councillor Charles Chowdhury.
Mr. Mayor, members, honorary aldermen, ladies and gentlemen, officers of the council and colleagues. Thank you to Councillor Taylor and Councillor Dibble for your kind words. Mr. Mayor, first of all, congratulations to you on your appointment as a mayor. It is an honor and a privilege, which I am sure you will uphold with a great distinction. This past year has been a very different, a year that has proved challenging for everyone. Sacrifices have been made by our community, many businesses. Sadly, we have seen loss and grief in our community. We must not forget those who are no longer with us, including our own. Long-standing colleague, Councillor Frank Rust, who sadly passed away last year. In the situation that COVID-19 has created, we could not do what we had always done. From learning to each other on screen, including showing off my extra chin. This year has for our council has been very much a case of decision-making based on the changing legislation, and I would like to thank our council staff for implementing measures and working with the partners to keep our communities safe. As a council, we are the forefront of keeping the fabric of local communities strong and cohesive. It is right that we remind ourselves about the contribution our council make. Like many of you, whether elected councillor or officer of the council, we can make a positive difference to people's life. We have the power and the potential of local democracy to strengthen local communities. Mr. Mayor, I give thanks to our National Health Service, key workers, community groups, and volunteers who have continued to keep our everyday service available. We have kept open sports centers such as The Source, Step by Step, Rushmoor Volunteer Services, and the Wine Centers, and the charity fundraiser who have continued to devote themselves to raising funds that benefits people's lives and played a key part in supporting our community, helping thousands of individuals with the prescriptions run, shopping, or just being available to have chat over the phone. Despite a significantly reduced number of civic engagements, I had the privilege of supporting a sponsor walk by Step in aid of young people at the risk of homelessness. Raising the Armed Forces Day flag on the Armed Forces Day on Saturday, 27th of June, 2020, with the Lieutenant Colonel Paddy Banks and the Reverend Joe Newton. Attending the wreath-laying ceremony at the Municipal Garden with the Major Albert Jackson, Padre 1st Battalion Irish Guard on the 75th anniversary of VJ Day. Attending a Remembrance Sunday on the Sunday, 8th November 2020, in remembrance of those who heroically sacrificed their lives to give us peace and freedom. A Christmas doorstep sing-along had me testing my Eurovian vocals. To a meeting, here 3 people at the Gilliments Junior School and discussing what is great about living in our borough. Thanking our NHS staff or volunteers at the both vaccination center at the Southwood Rector's Farnborough and the Princess Hall Aldershot, who have tirelessly ensured the efficient rollout of the vaccines. Awarding certificates to our community champion, who were key advocates in raising awareness, helping people completing the census 2021, so that the public services can meet their needs. We sadly mourn the loss of His Royal Highness, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, our Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire, Lieutenant General Sir Mark Mann, and I laid wreath at Rushmoor Borough Council and the Princess Garden in Aldershot. My theme during my year in office was one of the health and well-being, specifically looking after our mental health of our wider community by recognizing and bringing awareness of early warning signs and symptoms. The World Health Organization recognizes World Mental Health Day on the 10th of October. Unfortunately, unlike other ailments, there's still a stigma surrounding mental health issues. While recognizing the growing prevalence of mental health concern for younger and older people in our community, local organization, Rushmoor Borough Council, Hampshire County Council are committed to providing services which enable people to manage their mental health in a manner which offers choice and control. My chosen charity was Broadhurst Welcome Home Community Limited, a local charity which exists to provide help and support to those with a serious mental illness in Rushmoor and the surrounding areas. My second nominated charity was Parity for Disability, providing vital services to children and young adults with a multiple disability. I'm pleased to report that so far we have raised in the tone of around 10,000, which will be split equally between both charities. I would like to thank my charity committee under the chairmanship of Terry Owen for all his magnificent support and hard work, not just this year, but over the past 20 years, since I first set up the committee. We ended on the high note with a skydive at Nether Evans Airfield managed by the Army Parachute Regiment. Mr. Mayor, I give thanks to extraordinary generosity of the people, both named and unnamed. The list of unsung heroes is endless. They deserve our genuine and heartfelt praise. Thank you to Kathy Flatt, Amanda Hanson for all your work over the past year, for your efficiency, your advice, and support enabling me to undertake my role. At the start of my year, I appointed Reverend George Newton as my chaplain, and I would like to warmly thank him for his support, counsel, and wisdom. Many thanks to our team of officers, Andrew Culver and Ian Harrison, and our chief executive, who have assisted me during my mayoral year. Thank you to all of you who continue to support our communities and individuals to be happy, healthy, protective, and gain continued appreciation and public trust and support for what we do. As a councillor now for 29 years, supported and encouraged by my lovely wife and caring daughter, I cannot close without giving thanks to my family. I will end up with my youngest daughter, Zuna, who asked for a special mention as she believes it is all our work, all our doing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Item 3 on the agenda is the election of the Deputy Mayor of the Borough until the annual meeting of the Council in 2022. I call upon Councillor Steve Masterson.
Thank you very much. I was delighted when Councillor Marsh John asked me to propose him for the wonderful and indeed prestigious role of Deputy Mayor. I've known of him since 1985 and have had the absolute pleasure of serving with him as a borough councillor on and off since 1991. He has held various roles across the council, leading the council with distinction and recently handing over chairmanship of the Development Management Committee to his very able Vice Chairman, Councillor Callum Stewart. I used to enjoy his visits into Debenhams and our chats. He never did stay very long in case I sold him a suit. However, he did eventually succumb and did purchase a suit. What an honour it is for John and his lovely family for him to take up this role for the third time, the only person ever to do so. I know that without doubt, John will carry out this role as Deputy Mayor with aplomb and a style that is unique to him. I wish him every success in the year ahead, giving invaluable support to our newly elected Mayor, Councillor Thomas. And Mr. Mayor, may I wish yourself and the Mayoress every success. In conclusion, Mr. Mayor, it gives me great pleasure to move the proposition as set out that Councillor John Henry Marsh be elected Deputy Mayor of the Borough to hold office until the annual meeting of the Council in 2022. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor. I call upon Councillor Ken Mushkamp to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations on your appointment as Mayor. There are going to be many in this room, or a number in this room, like me, that wonder why would you put yourself forward for the slog of being Deputy Mayor to Mayor? Especially when you consider, what has John Marsh done to deserve that? He's a good man. He's a charitable man. He's a knowledgeable man. He's been leader of the borough. He's served the borough since God was a boy, dare I say. And so you have to wonder, if like me you think, why would I want to do that slog of a job? You've got to have a reason to put him there, because he's a good man. I'll give you the one reason I can think of. If it wasn't for that man, you wouldn't have me here, because he encouraged me and got me here. So please support John Marsh, because he loves that slog. And congratulations. Thanks a lot.
Are there any other nominations? I understand that Councillor Keith Dibble would like to say a few words.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to formally give the full support of the Labour Group to the appointment of John Marsh as Deputy Mayor, but I'd really like to spend a couple of minutes talking personally about John. When I was elected to Rushmoor in 1984, along with a list of names that you may remember, Terry Davis, Martin Marsh, Charlie Howard, Sheila Stevenson, Adrienne Westbrook and Brian Wilcox, John was Mayor. And I was really impressed by the way he went out of his way to make us welcome. Those new members, he made us welcome. And he encouraged us to speak, whether at full council or whether at committee. And those were the days when the Mayor was ex officio on every committee. So Bruce, you've got it quite light this year. He would be there and would always make good sense. And Sue and I were so impressed with how nice John was that we attended his civic service, and so much so that I've still got the press cutting from it. Mayoral March Past. This were the days when the service would be held in the ward of the Mayor, and we had the service in the procession from the church to a venue where we had tea and coffee. But I was saying to Mr. Shackley at lunchtime today, we don't think John's ever changed in all the years I've known him. Well, having seen this picture of 1984, I think one or two things might have changed, John. Honorary Alderman Sue Dibble and myself have always had the highest respect for John. Sue spent many years serving on the Development Management Committee with John, and we see him as a friend. We have great admiration for John. He has been through some very tough and difficult times, and he's lost two people very close to his heart, with Kate and Margaret, through tragic events. Yet John Marsh has always maintained great dignity, a sense of fairness, and a true passion of public service during those very difficult times. John Marsh has always shown a satirical elegance, probably encouraged by Councillor Masterson. He's a traditional suit, shirt and tie man at a time when we as a society drift towards more casual dress. To acknowledge that, John, Sue and I have got a present for you. It's something I made the trip last Wednesday night to North London to watch a shared passion of us, the mighty Tottenham Hotspur, who, true to form, lost. But we did buy a club tie for you, which I'd like to present to you tonight. So but be wary of this tie, because whenever I've worn mine, it always ends in tears. So on behalf of the Labour Group, we really want everyone to support John Marsh for Deputy Mayor tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dibble. And now, all those in favour, please show. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillor John Henry Marsh is therefore elected Deputy Mayor of the Borough to hold office until the annual meeting of the Council in 2022. Congratulations, John, on your election as Deputy Mayor. We are delighted that you've been appointed Deputy Mayor, and with the Mayoress, I look forward to working with you over the next year. Thank you.
Do you, John Henry Marsh, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of the Borough of Rushmoor, declare that you take that office upon yourself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of your judgment and ability? And do you undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of Rushmoor Borough Council?
I do. I call upon the Deputy Mayor to address the meeting. Councillor John Marsh.
Mr. Mayor, Honorary Alderman, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, Bruce, our new Mayor, and best wishes for a successful and enjoyable year. Thank you, Councillor Steve Marterson and Ken Mushtamp and Keith Dibble for your kind words, and thank you to the Council for electing me to the position of Deputy Mayor for the forthcoming year, which maybe will return to some sort of normality if we can remember what that is after the COVID problems. I must admit, Councillor Masterson, I do miss my visits to Debenhams, even though you weren't always successful in sending me anything. And perhaps a word of explanation from Keith Dibble. I too am a Spurs supporter. I was brought up in North London and Spurs were my local team. So together with Keith Dibble and our late colleague Frank Rust were Spurs supporters. Perhaps a word of commiseration, if I may, to former Councillor Clive Grattan, who had hoped and expected to fill this role. But elections can be unpredictable and causes upsets. Pleasure for winners, but disappointment for losers. Mr. Mayor, I look forward to supporting you in the Borough of Rushmoor during the coming 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. Item 4 on the agenda is the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Council on the 22nd of April 2021. Is there a proposer? Councillor Mushkamp? Is there a seconder? Councillor Paul Taylor. Would you like to say anything, Councillor Mushkamp? Oh no, these are the minutes. Sorry. All those in favour, please show. Those against? That's carried. Item 5 on the agenda is the Returning Officer's report for the Borough Council elections on the 6th of May 2021, which I ask you to note. Congratulations again to all of our new councillors on being elected onto the council. Well done. Item 6 is the Mayor's communications. COVID restrictions permitting, I am proposing to hold a number of events during my mayoral year. These will include a couple of the Mayoress's afternoon tea events and a charity ball at Princess Hall in Aldershot. Further details of these events will follow in due course. Item 7 is the appointment of the leader of the council to hold office until the annual council meeting in 2022. As you will see from the agenda, Councillor David Clifford has been nominated as leader of the council by the Conservative group. Can I have a proposer, please? Martin Tennant, all right. Yes, Martin Tennant. And is there a seconder? Mr. Ken Mushkamp. Are there any other nominations for the Leader of the Council? As there are no other nominations, I put the motion to the meeting. All those in favour, please show. Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8 sets out the various appointments to the decision-making structure for the municipal year 2021-22, including the Cabinet Committees, Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and the Policy and Project Advisory Board. This item also includes appointments to management boards for council trusts. I propose to take the recommendations en bloc. Is there a proposer? Councillor Mushkamp, the seconder? I can see two. I can't see them. Councillor Clifford. So we have a proposer, Councillor Ken Mushkamp, and a seconder. Who was the seconder? Councillor Clifford. Before I ask whether you are in favour of this, Councillor Guinness would like to speak.
Sorry, Councillor.
Councillor Austin. Sorry.
Councillor Guinness or Councillor Austin?
Councillor Austin, sorry.
There's two speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, there's
Councillor
two.
Guinness first of all.
Councillor Guinness first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We agree with the appointments, but I just wanted to say, as I wanted to speak earlier but missed the slot. Councillor Bruce Thomas, you were elected in 2012 to RBC and have served on the Development Management Committee in 2016-17 and 2019-20, which I wasn't around then, but I've been told you held this position with great consistency, controlled debate, and recognised that members to have the floor and equal opportunities to question the voice on each submitted plan brought forward. And no matter what political party they were from, it was respected. Councillor Bruce Thomas, as you served as deputy for the last year, which unfortunately with COVID-19 has been an extremely difficult and different year, and you haven't been able to get out and about with normal times. We hope for you to have a better year ahead and that you not only are able to fulfil your role as mayor, but enjoy your year. With all being able to raise lots of money for your chosen charities, Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice and The Vine. Both charities do such an amazing job locally. Good luck.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also missed a little slot. I think you're very, obviously very quick and efficient at getting through the agenda. Just a couple of things I'd like to say. Firstly, congratulations, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Deputy Mayor, on your election this evening. As the shadow portfolio holder for what is now Democracy, Strategy and Partnerships, and on behalf of the Rushmoor Labour Group, I would just like to say thank you to Andrew Culver and the Democracy team for all of the work that they put in to organise the elections this year, to make sure that everyone could feel safe as well as be safe in going to cast their ballot. Organising new polling stations in replacement for the schools, and even replacement for the North Town base and others which were porter cabins. It's just taken an awful lot of organisation. And those polling stations that I went to and called to on the 6th of May were all running smoothly, and everybody seemed to be feeling that it was a perfectly safe place to be. I'd like to thank the staff who were at the polling stations, which is always a long day for them. They were also friendly and helpful, and also to thank all of those who were at for the verification of ballots and counting, both for the county, for borough, and for the Police and Crime Commissioner elections this year. I'm sure that there were some lessons learnt, but I'm sure that we also all hope that those lessons won't need to be brought into practice again anytime soon. So thank you to all of the democracy team and everybody who worked on the elections. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. The proposal is to take these recommendations en bloc. We have a proposer and seconder. So all in favour, please show. Those against? That's carried. Thank you very much. The annual meeting has now finished. I wish you all a very good evening, and to all of you watching the webcast, thank you for joining us this evening. In line with COVID instructions, I have to now ask members to leave the building in a COVID secure way, instructed via the side doors of the main hall. For everybody's safety, please remember to wear your face mask and maintain social distancing at all times. Thank you very much, councillors.